All right, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm Kimberly Diaz. I'm a dementia consultant and trainer, as well as a registered nurse, and I have a company that helps seniors and helps their families navigate kind of all the changes that go on as we age. And I'm also a dementia consultant, and I had the privilege of meeting David through a support group that I run online, and he and I just connected, and he wanted to have the opportunity to get his message out to as many people as possible. So I appreciate you taking the time today. And we'd like this to be an open dialogue. So I've got some questions that I've already ran past David, because it is important that he, it's getting, I don't want to speak for you, but a little more difficult to kind of just randomly kind of throw questions at him. So I'll be reading some of those, but please, we want this to be interactive. If you would share your experiences, your stories, we would love to hear that. And we just want to get rid of the stigma and just really be able to validate, empathize, show compassion. You just don't know what somebody next to you is living with and what they're going through. So that's really the purpose of this. And David, did you want Carla to?
You bet. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And as Kimberly said, as much as we're willing to share, that will help also, because when we hear each other's experiences, we can be happy to at least hear what other people are going through, even though it's horrible and terrible. So when Carla walked into the room this morning, she expressed beautifully what we're doing here. So if that's okay with you,
sure.
Carla's going to just briefly express what the goal is of us being here.
Hey guys, we've already talked to some of you guys and haven't met all of you, but I just thank Nikki and Michelle and what they do here at this beautiful facility. Nikki, right there with the baseball hat. Michelle right there. And Michelle is the one who reminded my granddaughter, who works in the office also, did you invite your grandparents to this? So we got that yesterday. I said, Michael, we're going to this. Because I'm sure we have all gone through the initial phases, the middle phases, whatever. We're here with you. And I wanted to tell you that Michael was diagnosed last June 2023. And I think I was more in shock than he was. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was your initial?
I can't be happy.
Yeah. And
Those exact words. I identify with those exact words completely.
yeah, because when you guys, I know you've all been in careers. You've all just done a beautiful job with your life. You've been with it up here. People loved you. You were very good at what you did. And then to have that strike you in the face. Michael was 20 years in the Air Force, B-52 bomber, navigator, electronic warfare, and pilot during Vietnam. And all those tours in Vietnam. And he was with it. He was public affairs in the Air Force and had to talk out in front of people all the time. So we know. And we moved all over the world, learned some different languages, just different people. We really just love that background in our lives, moving around the world and meeting different people. And it's so great to have that memory. And I'm so thankful we did it when we could. But I started noticing things, but I didn't know I was noticing things back when we moved to Ecuador in 2015. We moved there just to see South America. I don't want to take too much time, but I wanted to tell you where we came from, where we are now. South America was something we didn't know about because, we studied Europe. seen before. So I started noticing things, but not noticing things, because I didn't want to notice things. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. We had a big insurance policy that I would have gotten that he let go. Didn't pay it when we moved to Ecuador. Couldn't recoup it. Then in Ecuador, when we were learning Spanish and speaking it out constantly, he would understand it but couldn't speak it. I spoke it, wasn't afraid, and to this day, I still try to speak it, not that I have that much opportunity now. But I wanted to tell you, those are the first signs. Anybody else have that experience? I don't know how many years ago you experienced this, but when he was diagnosed, I think I was the one that was more in shock because I'd kind of, no, this is nothing, this is just little things. And so we started looking at assisted living right away. And that was, straight in the face. We'd always been so free. Go where we want to go, do what we want to do. And then we're hit with that and that big cost per month, that huge cost per month, and losing a lot of your freedom. And I just want to say that we know where you're at. Right now, Michael has good days, and he has not so good days. But we're taking all the vitamins, taking Momentum, is that the name of the? I don't know if that does any good or not.
Yeah.
But you know what? Since we were diagnosed, we haven't had any support except my granddaughter. I mean, she's there. She works here. Her background is working with people. She's a wonderful human being. We helped raise her.
We're prejudiced.
Yeah. And so I just want you to know that what you're feeling, please speak up today and let's share. Because really, that's the only thing we have, isn't it, right now? I don't know of any, Michael can't do these new programs, where they intravenously feed you stuff because he's on blood thinners.
Yeah.
Well, there they go out the window, all this new stuff that they know about Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's Association is one of the richest associations in the world. What do we have? I don't know. So that's why we're all here, to share. And praise God that you guys are doing this. Thank you.
And I just wanted to mention what Carla said, and it's so true, is if you receive a cancer diagnosis or some other type of diagnosis, they give you a social worker, a chap, they give you all of these resources. But when you're diagnosed with dementia, good luck, and you're out the door. So that's why this is so important. You have to make your own village, your own tribe. And that's really what I'm hoping to do, is to really just support one another, and you don't have to fight this alone. All right.
What, if it's okay, what I'd like to do is follow up with Carla. What Carla said, very briefly tell my story, but then anybody who's open to doing it as Carla did, how it started really and where you're at right now. So I'll just briefly say that. In October of 22, I went to a national park and enjoyed it, called up my son, described how beautiful it was, and he said, "Dad, we were there together 2 weeks ago." And then he told me what we had done together. I didn't remember any of it, and that's how I knew that was my trigger. Something is wrong here. I don't remember 2 weeks ago being with my son, and so that's what triggered it. And as we all know, there's a long process and many times being in shock. So I've been through many of those. I would say one thing is, one of the reasons that we're active in this is I was living in Jerusalem at the time, so one of the early responses was to find a group to join of people with early stage dementia and get together. In the state of Israel, there is not a single group like this. And it wasn't out of bravery, it was just out of basic necessity. You need people to talk to about this condition. So I started up the first group, which was under the umbrella of the caregivers group. I went to the caregivers group, which is very large and active. I said, how about starting a Zoom group of this? So that's how I got into talking about it. And just to follow what Carla said, where I'm at now, for a variety of reasons, and I say this very carefully, and I don't advocate this for anybody else, it's a completely individual decision, but I'll end my life before, when I feel that I'm getting close to being in a dementia condition, I already have it all laid out to terminate my life. I thank goodness, have a beautiful life, and up to now, plenty to be thankful for. And so my decision has been. So that's very quickly the story, and anybody else who's interested in.
Yeah. The Alzheimer's Association does do an early on-stage 11-week course for both caregivers and those that have been diagnosed. And right now they're doing one in Longmont. I'm trying to set one up because I do a caregiver support group the third Tuesday from 10 to 11:30 every month here, and I recognize a couple people. So what's so wonderful about it is it gives caregivers a place to vent and to get ideas from each other, which is really wonderful. But there are so many people that are have someone that is in early stages, so they don't have room here for me for 11 weeks, and I'm trying to get in touch with the library and see whether we can do an 11-week program there, because it's such a wonderful program. And then we would do it through Alzheimer's once I get the space, because a lot of my people have early stage partners, and it's just, I got involved because my mom was diagnosed with vascular dementia many years ago, and I learned so much, even though I lived up in Vail at the time, so there were no support groups. But people would call me and say, I heard your mom has either Alzheimer's or dementia, what did you do, or how did you handle this? So when I moved down here from the mountains, I said, okay, I think I can help other people. And even though it's not a spouse, it's a parent, I just learned so much of what not to say and how not to say it and all those things. But anyway, I invite anybody who wants to join my group, and I will let Broomfield know if we come up with an 11-week program, because it's really nice, because they have guest speakers like an attorney because of power of attorney, and when you shouldn't drive and why you can't drive once you're diagnosed, and just a lot of great information, both for power of attorney and just stories from other people and how they handle things. And anyway, so I just wanted to stop in, and I want to stay a little bit and then I have to leave, but I just wanted to let you know that we have that here, and I've been doing it for 8 years now, and it's been great.
When you have to leave, we want to make sure we get the information before you leave.
Okay. Michelle has it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's just been wonderful, heartwarming for me, and I always stay later, so if somebody wants to talk to me privately after, I never run out at 11:30. I'm here as long as people need me.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to share?
My mother came down. My father died at 62. And my mother was starting, I noticed, in Florida, Boca Raton, Florida, and she had her own condo, and I noticed things weren't going right, and so the doctor said that we have to take away her car, and I had a young son, because I had a child late in life at 42, and
That's not late anymore.
I'm 84 now. And so eventually my mother moved in with me in my townhouse in Boca, and she lived till wherever, and they took care of her. And it was very hard on my son Michael to see his grandmother like that. But we all survived, and now I have it. I'm alone. I have 2 cats. I'm an animal person. My children took away my car recently, and so I don't have a car, which is very hard for me because I used to volunteer daily at the Boulder Shelter for the animals. And so I have my 2 cats that I take care of every day. They sleep with me. And I, a long time ago, became a vegetarian. And I have a caretaker, my daughter that lives here, that went to college out here from Chicago, got this wonderful lady for me. And she drives me around, takes me to the swimming pool.
Oh, good, I was
3
just
times
gonna
a
ask
week,
if that's
and I
okay
don't give
for
up
you to
the
get
water.
Good.
And so,
Wonderful.
She looks really good. She must be doing something right for 84.
I think it's the diet.
well, like I said, I can't eat animals because I'm an animal lover.
Yeah.
And so I take care of myself. But I do the water constantly. I used to be a lifeguard years ago. And,
You've had a lot of changes lately.
yeah, a lot of changes recently, but my mother
What's
lives
your
to
name?
91.
What's your name?
Iris.
Iris? How did your children present to you that you needed to not be driving anymore, and how did you react? How did you feel?
Well, my youngest daughter has a home up in Aspen and a home down in Westminster. And she talked with my son Michael, who's in Dallas, and they just felt that even though I took driver's tests and everything, because I've been driving since I was 16, they just figured that they didn't like some of the things that were happening. And I thought I was driving just fine. But they took away the car, and I can't fight with them.
Okay,
They probably know more than I do.
thank you.
It's very brave.
But it's
I
hard
was
because I don't go
very
to the shelter now. You know, I used to just get in the car and go and help when they needed me.
Yeah.
So I'm in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. I'm moving into a new facility in Broomfield in a few months. And I have two cats that I've adopted. I adopt the senior animals. They're 12 years old. And they sleep with me. I feed them. And this is one of my caretakers. She takes me to the supermarket. And I said, you go away. I can walk with my cart and find exactly what I need and pay for it.
Bravo, bravo.
Yeah.
You know what you're able to do, and you do it, and you're forceful about it. That's terrific. That's beautiful.
And I love that
I don't pay my bills though. My daughter, through my checking account,
Fair deal.
takes care of
That's all
all
right.
the bills.
One less thing you have to worry about.
Yes.
No, I don't have anything to worry
Yeah,
about.
perfect.
So as long as I have animals, I'm happy.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Related to something else that Iris said, in the lobby, there's an announcement that here in the facility on October 4th, Friday, they're gonna have a whole expo about connection in a socially isolated world. So it's really, when.
That's really good. I
Yeah.
went last year.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
And
We both went last year.
They have a lot of different vendors and
We'll have it
assisted living,
Okay.
hearing tests, eye tests, you name it. It's really great.
It just opens up your worlds of what's there.
I just like to add one thing about the car. Once you are diagnosed, if you are in an accident, people have lost everything they've ever saved for because they're in an accident, they've been diagnosed, it's been suggested they don't drive by their physician, and it's really important. It's really hard. I mean, my mom, till the day she died, blamed my brother for taking away the car. So we always say, let the doctor give all the bad news. Don't you be the bearer of bad news. But it's so, as hard as it is, it's so important because if God forbid you have an accident, and I mean, that's what happened with my mom. The first thing we told her to do is this is how you go here, don't go on the Baltimore Beltway, don't ever drive 60 miles an hour, and don't make any left turns, only make right turns. So that was phase one, before my brother took the car away.
But see, my daughter took me to a specialist
Yeah.
to make sure that she was doing the right thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's just really important, because if God forbid somebody gets really badly hurt, you're screwed. So, as terrible as it is, but we got her a driver and she loved the driver.
Exactly, you figure it
So,
out.
It's more, you don't wanna lose everything you ever worked for, or your house, or anything like that.
Well, and you
So-
don't wanna hurt yourself or somebody
Yeah,
else,
right.
you
And
know?
one other thing, I'm gonna be 85, and I'm only on one medication through the doctor
That's
Wow.
amazing.
for cholesterol.
Wow, good.
That's it.
That's great.
And they're doing more and more research and finding that the mind diet, it can be very helpful. So that is vegetarian, or vegan actually. So, but it's gotta be healthy vegan. You know, there
You
is
gotta
a
get your protein.
residential home in California that a physician opened many, many years ago and did a 5-year trial with this one woman in particular. And it showed her at the beginning where she was having, you know, signs of dementia, and she was recently diagnosed. She lived there for 5 years with exercise, the structure, the vegan diet, and then they showed her 5 years later, and she was actually better off than she was 5 years prior. So there's a lot of things that we can't control, but there are things that we can control. And that's even just in my own life, I try to focus on what you can control. There's so many things you can't, so focus on what you can, what you're putting in your mouth, how you're moving your body, you know, things like that we can control.
And I swim 3 or 4 days a week.
See, that's how you move your body.
My mom swam the
Absolutely.
same way.
Yeah.
It made a huge difference and extended her life, definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's okay to ask if anybody else would like to share their experiences, either how process started or where you're at.
I'm Joyce, and my husband Lyman. Lyman was diagnosed, I guess, in the last year with Alzheimer's, but it started with him being dizzy, and he's been dizzy 24/7 for a year and a half now. And because the doctors say that if he hadn't been dizzy, we probably wouldn't have found the Alzheimer's, because he's had a lot of testing done. So the dizziness has been the worst part, because it limits his ability or desire to do anything.
Yeah. I personally haven't heard that before.
I haven't
That's
either.
very
In
interesting.
8 years, I've
Yeah.
never had anybody.
They say, we've been to many doctors.
Sure.
They say that dizziness is not part of Alzheimer's. It could be maybe part of Parkinson's.
Yeah.
It could be Lewy body.
Mhm.
They're not sure, but he had a scan a couple months ago. He does have the plaques that is Alzheimer's, and he's gonna start tomorrow inject the infusions, the
Okay.
medication infusions, and see if that
For the
helps slow
amyloid
things
plaques?
down. I'm sorry.
For the amyloid, he's gonna
Yes.
start, okay.
And I'd like to put it in the newspaper. We've tried for a year and a half to find someone that would help us with the dizziness. And we finally found, through a neurologist, a physical therapy organization down in Denver. And they only deal with dizziness.
So vestibular,
Yeah.
yep,
And
Therapy.
they are booked out 2 months.
yeah.
So there's a lot of dizzy people.
You're not alone.
I did, like Carla and her husband, you know, he was very active, we were very active, we lived a lot of places, played a lot of golf, did a lot of traveling, and then this dizziness hit, just woke up one morning dizzy.
Could that be vertigo?
It's not vertigo.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
dizziness.
Yeah,
And I guess there is a defined difference.
yeah.
I think he has something called PPPD, and it's postural, persistent postural perceptual dizziness. Some days are better than others. He had a knee replacement this past summer, which
Wow.
kind of slowed his progress down of activities.
Sure.
Anesthetics not great for dementia.
What's that?
Anesthetics are not great for dementia.
Well, he got better.
Yeah.
It was really, his balance got better. I don't know the dementia,
Yeah.
but the balance got better. So I said, gee, let's go for a hip replacement maybe. Or anesthesia. But that's our story.
Thank you for sharing.
Come here.
You had raised your hand?
Yes, I'm Mary, and my mother had Lewy body. And I didn't even know of this disease. I call it assisted Alzheimer. My sister now has it, so I fear, but I can't control that someday I will. I'm having problems with remembering things. You know how you go to the kitchen to get something and you get there and you can't remember what you went for? And I mean, this happens in every room. So, and then I can be in the middle of talking to somebody on the phone, and then in the middle of the conversation forget what I was gonna say and what I'm dealing with. But I just want to share to the group that when my mother passed in 2005, my sister and I shared her. She was in Tennessee, my sister, and we put her back and forth. And it was such an honor when she passed that we were able to do for her what we did. And the fun times we had. I never wanted to lie to Mom. When I knew she had, I thought she had Alzheimer's in the beginning. I went to her apartment in Illinois, and I was cleaning the carpet, and Mother was one that just pitched in with you. Now she's curled like a baby in the bed. And so I sat down and told her, I think you have Alzheimer's. Well, I got in trouble with the rest of the kids for saying that. But with Mom, it was Lewy body. They found it in Tennessee. And I had to learn to lie to my mother because we had little statues outside, and she worried about them because it's snowing, and they're gold. And I brought them in and tried to show her that they were just statues. But the funny things that we had happen. One night she wanted to. It was time to go to bed, and she said, "You're not sleeping with me here?" And I said, "No, I'm sleeping with my husband." She got all upset. My husband's home. I need to get home. My father was dead. And, so I can remember her just, I learned the lesson, don't mention husband in front of my mother again. But the honor was taking care of her to the end. And it was, we had fun times. But I considered fun to be able to remember. My brothers came to help. They weren't much help. My one brother was rubbing her feet. And one day she said, "Stop." And he goes, "Rubbing your feet?" And she said, "No, talking." and there was just some little things that happened but I had to lie to her at times, and that was hard. But that's what made her better. And we did get help, like you're saying. I had to get help in the house. Somebody came in the morning, got her out of bed, and got her breakfast and helped with bathing. But all I can say to anyone that has it, don't worry about taking your kids down. They're there to help you. And to me, when she died, I was so pleased. My brothers were so pleased that they had the time with her. So right now my sister's dealing with it, and we just talk about it all we can do. But one thing, when you get to the end, you don't remember. You don't remember things at all. The one thing that did upset me, but yet now I remember it, and it's how life was. I gave Mom pictures of her mom, her dad, her sisters, and I had them made so she could look at them. And one day I walked in and she goes, "They're dead?" And I go, "I know." She said, "They're dead?" I said, "I know." And she said, "I don't want to die." And I said, "I know." And then it was over.
Yeah.
So it's how you handle
Right.
coming back with them. And hopefully if I have troubles, my children will be there. I know that. So.
What you just said was, so good. It's how you handle and respond to them. And it's so hard at first to change that. We can talk, or he can make a comment, and 2 minutes later it's the same comment. 2 minutes later it's the same comment. And then he doesn't remember, and it's just like, but the caregiver's gotta do the changing.
Yep. 'Cause they're
That's
doing
the
best they
important
can.
thing.
Yep.
And just to have that empathy and say, you're not all that. Carla, you change in the way you talk to him. And I've got to tell you something, he is the nicest human being.
Yeah. We're in competition here.
Nicest human being on this earth. And I'm so glad that I know him. We've been married 37 years and we've done so many wonderful things. And I wanted to say also that we eat Mediterranean.
Okay.
And Mediterranean is one of the healthiest ways to eat in this whole world. And very few carbs, but enough. But all the vegetables, and you know how we eat it? Through sunbasket. That's the delivery of the food.
What's it called?
Sunbasket. S-U-N-B-A-S-K-E-T.
So they deliver
They deliver.
and you just put it together?
And you put it together. Now, it does take a little preparation, but there's the directions, pictures, but it's so healthy. And we have so many things that we go to now that I have to think of a week in advance. Now, do I need 3 meals? Or do I need 2, or do I need 1? I mean, we go all the time, and I think this activity helps a lot to be interactive with people, constantly be with people. What I've noticed about Michael, I mean, he used to be, like I said, a colonel in the Air Force and in front of people all the time and talking, but he's lost his chutzpah. You know, doing things
Yeah.
that you mentioned, and kind of hangs.
Depends on what things they are.
Yeah, well, hangs back in conversations.
That's true.
And he knows this, and that's why he's so great. You know, we talk about all this together. He used to fight me all the time because I had to take over all the finances. I had to take over everything, just be the major one. And he used to fight me in the very beginning because he was diagnosed, and a man doesn't want to let go of all that. Yeah,
That's true.
that's reality. But I love him. He knows, he's just the greatest because he knows that it's gotta be this way. Anybody else have that circumstance?
Well, and I just wanna, I love what Carla said, that the caretaker or the care partner has to be the one that changes. The person living with dementia is doing the best that they can at every single moment. So really responding versus reacting, you know, really being thoughtful about how you're going to respond and thinking things through and really looking at one, you know, being a partner versus doing something to somebody, partnering with them.
And I've had a real challenge with that
Yeah.
because I'm really an ambivert, and I know we don't hear that word a lot, but I'm an extrovert and what is the other one?
Introvert,
Yeah, an introvert. I'm kind of in between.
like a hybrid.
Yeah, I'm a hybrid. I rise to the occasion, but I like my downtime too.
Yeah.
And I like to just be able to relax. And so it's all changed. I have to be on all the time. I have to be on because I'm in control of everything now.
I relate to that.
Uh-huh.
I can relate to that.
And I'm a Christian, and I pray every morning, let me be on, Lord, keep me healthy.
Yep.
Because for both of us, I have to be there and help him get better. I know that he will continue to not go downhill because you're in control. Let him be as healthy, just be healthy. And we exercise, we eat right. We don't have what do you call those, psychiatrists anymore because the psychiatrist is sick.
Yeah.
And there's not many
Yeah. The
people
neuropsychologist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that do that now.
Yeah. There's not.
And so we're just kind of out there. I haven't had any support groups, and that's why I just bless my granddaughter, Aunt Michelle, for reminding her for this today.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
We live in a great place. We decided to age at home. And we live in a townhouse. And it's even gone through my mind. I have the downstairs bathroom, I have the closets downstairs. He has the closets upstairs. He has the bathroom upstairs. If things get worse, we'll change.
Swap.
And this was hard for me to get grasp. You have to realize that life is gonna be different, but it's gonna be good, because it's gonna work out good. It's gonna work out for the both of you. When you say for better or worse, for richer or poorer, this is part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm just so blessed that we've had this life and still have this life. You have to look at it very positively.
Would anybody else like to share?
Well, I have a funny. So it was about almost 2 years ago. I would tell him something. 5 minutes later, he would ask me, and I'd say, "I just told you this." He would say to me, "I didn't hear you."
Yeah.
I sent him out for a hearing test.
Mhm.
His ears were fine. It wasn't getting written.
There's a processing that was.
That's
involved.
really interesting,
It took a
because
while.
okay, exactly. It just didn't get in there to
No.
begin with.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, but
No, it was, when he came back from the hearing place and he said, "They said my hearing is excellent." I was like, "Well, then what is it?" But also during that time, his sister was in the last stages of Alzheimer's. And so it was like about a year ago, I guess, he got diagnosed. September of last year. Because it took a while, to get in to see the right people and all that kind of stuff. But that was kind of his hearing is great. It's really good. One thing that early on, because I would tell him, "Honey, I just told you this. Honey, I just told you this." How many times did I say that? And one day I kind of saw him flinch, and I said, "Does it bother you when I tell you that?" And he said, "Yeah, it does." And I said, "Well, then I'm going to stop." And you know what? It helped him, but it helped me even more.
Yep.
Because now it's not, I don't need to correct him. I don't need to tell him. I just say it again. And it's just so much more relaxing.
You're not putting that negative out there.
Yeah. So in the last, so he had a little change in memantine. Thank you, memantine.
Oh.
So he had a little change in, they upped his dosage. And the last 2 days, it's been worse. He's like, I will tell him, we were looking for something for a play, I do props. And I said, "I need cookie tins, metal round with a lid on it." And it was like, within the span of 7 minutes, asked me again and again. And I was like, what is going on? So when we got in the car, I said, "I feel like your medication, upping it, has had this effect, because you don't usually do that." So I had to tell him. Normally I would just say it again, but this was like 4 times in a row. So I'm kind of monitoring it.
Yep.
And if this goes on for a couple of days, I'm going to get in touch with the neurologist and say, don't know why increasing would have the opposite. But I will say that the memantine and the Donepezil that he's been on for a year has definitely had a positive
Good.
effect.
Good.
And she told us in the latest, we met with her about 3 weeks ago, and she said they expect about 2 years of effect for memantine and Donepezil. And we're about a year into it. She said it could be a little bit longer, could be a little shorter, but, and I said, well, if we lower the dose, will it last longer? She said, no.
Good thought, though.
You know what you just said about not saying, "I just told you that"? I struggled with that.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to face yourself and say, "What are you doing?"
Doesn't do him any good.
Yep.
It just makes him feel bad. Doesn't do me any good because it makes me feel frustrated. So I just, that came out of my vocabulary until 2 days ago.
You have to repeat it anyway, so.
You have to, yeah.
Just repeat it.
I can relate to the kind of going to several different doctors and sort of chasing down is this an eye issue? Is it a balance issue? Is it my mom has Lewy body dementia and is pretty far into it now, but probably 15 years ago we started kind of down the path of, gosh, there seems to be some gait issues or her right leg would go in front of her left leg unexpectedly and, you know, throw her off balance and, so I can relate to that. And I love what you said about, just the honor of walking alongside with your mom. And
It's a blessing.
it is a blessing. And it's so hard. But
The one thing that's very important in caretaking, because I just did caretaking for my husband, he died because of Agent Orange. You have to take breaks.
Oh.
yeah.
When the caregiver would come, I'd tell, I'm running away.
Yep.
And you have to take those breaks to take a break, to be able to come back and be happy with what you're doing.
Yes.
And it's so important.
Yeah, I keep, just reminding myself, like, there's some things in life that are tens, like, they're tens in the level of importance of how you show up, raising your kids, or, you know,
The other thing too, like with the Lewy
and
body,
this
or
is a 10.
Yeah.
This is a 10
It
for
is.
me, like, it's such an honor to get to longer through
Yeah.
this hell time for her, and yet appreciate the sense of humor and things that pop through.
It does.
Damn, Michelle told me.
We'll all be crying here pretty soon.
The thing is too, I found that people just don't realize when you have dementia, or even, like, I'm 80 and I'm starting to get, not dementia, but they say it's normal to forget things. But with the Lewy body, I found when people came in, even if it was my brother, tell her who you are.
Yes.
Because if you don't, she's trying to figure out,
Yes.
and she doesn't know, and you expect her to know.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing I told everybody that came in.
Yes.
If myself, well, she knew me, she wasn't letting go of me, I will say that. My husband and I took a break when we were caring for her, and I'm going with her. But I did, that was so helpful for Mom. While we're all visiting, she's over there trying to figure out, who is this?
Yeah.
Even if it's her son, so it's very important when you get to these different stages of it.
And even on the phone, for somebody to say, hi, Mom, it's Linda.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You just assume they know the voice. They don't, so give them that extra prompt.
Otherwise, you got their head going.
Yep.
And my mother with Lewy body, she was falling, and I took her, what my sister was doing, and it was her choice. She was doing the, where they zap them, I guess, there's a word for it. Yeah, and I didn't like that, so I went to this doctor, and he said her brain has white. He said she can walk, but her brain doesn't know it,
Oh,
so she couldn't walk anymore.
so the connection.
The connection, yeah.
Lost.
So she was capable of walking, that's why she was falling all the time.
Right.
And in the end, she couldn't walk
Yeah.
because
Yep, that
he said the
connection
brain
was
couldn't
gone.
take it, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah. And when she died, it was a beautiful death. My youngest son was with her, I was in the basement making room for them. He yelled, and I come up, and he's singing an Irish song to her as she passed, and she was Irish.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful, just to, yeah. So take all the support you can, and it's awesome, because you actually, as a caretaker, need that support.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So important to have
You
that
know,
respect.
I've heard all my life about caregivers. Just didn't think about it, didn't listen to it. And now I know, boy, caregivers have got to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, you end up down the tubes yourself.
Well, and there's statistics out there. 32% of caregivers actually pass away before the person they're taking care of. And it's
Is that right?
increasing
32%?
every single year. So to your point, you must take that respite. You know, you need to have that time to yourself for the, you know, doing whatever it is that you need to do for you in order to, you know, allow you to
Well,
come
you
back.
know, I'm glad that we have this chance to talk to each other, because we haven't hit the point where we need caregivers yet,
Right.
but I know we will.
Yeah.
I don't know where we'll get them, what the situation will be, but I have a good friend that is taking care of her mother, and she has caregivers for everything. She maps it out every
Yep.
week. She all the hours mapped out and everything. And that's keeping her sane and keeping her healthy. She's got horrible arthritis and walks with a walker, so she needs that. We do too. People who don't walk with a walker, or, you know, because man, it can drive, when this starts to go down, your whole body goes down. We've got to be strong.
But you don't have to be strong alone.
Thank you. We don't have to be strong alone.
I have to tell y'all something that I think is cute with my husband. Ned didn't have dementia, but he was dying. And we had this caretaker in. And I teased him because she was young and she was blonde. And I always said I'd get you a young and blonde one before I And then one day, he wouldn't let, I don't know why, we were husband and wife for years, but he didn't want me to help him that day.
Yeah.
But he was in the other room and she was getting him his bath, it was hospice. And I heard him say, maybe we should shave me before the shower. And I thought, I think he's gotten quite comfortable with this. So there are some good things and things that happen in sadness.
Yes.
So,
And you got to see those.
yes, I did. That's what I live off of in dealing with my grief of my loss.
You have a great attitude.
You have to.
You have to.
And like you said, that's how much we love you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't ask for any better of a man in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And these are gifts that I go for. But I just had to share that about the blonde. It was so cute.
I thought you said she was blind.
Oh.
I was thinking, is she giving her husband a bath? That sounds dangerous. I said blonde, which is bold.
She was blonde, but the caretakers too, they help you. They make the bed for you, and then they would take me in the living room and talk to me
Yep.
to help me. So I mean, there's so many things, we can't change it, but we can live it.
Yep.
And we can, the things that are fun and that you deal, not even fun, the things that you experience are the best memories when that person decides to go to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And what we need to do is make the very best of it and be just as positive as we can be. And I think our background, the military background, moving
Yeah.
and going, and I looked forward to that. I'm not looking forward to this, but I look forward to new places because it was so exciting to meet new people and to get the stuff out and put it up immediately. When you move in the military, you learn. Put the pictures on the wall, put everything in its place right away so that you can start living there again. And we need to do, and we are doing the same thing now. The change is what's hard for people. It's just pushing through and knowing you don't want to live like negative.
Yep.
You want to be positive. This is life.
And that goes back to those choices.
Mhm.
That's something you can control.
You can't control the choices. Thank you, that was good.
Yeah. And so one of the things I'd like to maybe ask you, how has your relationship with maybe your family or your children changed, or has it? How about you, David? I know you just had a nice vacation.
Yeah, I just had my family came in from overseas for a week and a half. That was about 2 weeks ago. And I hadn't seen them for some period of time. I only moved here last November. And it was, of course, delightful. We were together as a family for the first time in a long time. My ex-wife also came, and there were 6 of us together. It was an astonishing week and a half. During the visit, there was a little feeling, and since the visit, it's gotten much more, that it was a goodbye session. It really felt that way, especially now I see. It was a beautiful opportunity. I sat with each one of the kids separately, and that's what we're doing it a little bit differently than standard, and they all know I'm gonna end my own life. But we had a chance to talk with each. I sat with each one and went through it, and each one is taking it differently, but yes, that's how the relationship is going. And there is room for positive here a lot. For example, one of the things I really feel, I don't believe, I feel things. I don't think anymore, I feel them. One of them is that having this condition, knowing I'm dying is helping me, my living better. For some reason it's come in, having that, and it took, I'm 70 years old, and it took until now with this big fist of dementia sitting in front of me to realize, wait a second, dying is gonna happen. Good, then I'm now living and I'm still lucid and able to think and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of stuff, and I had an opportunity while I'm still lucid to sit with my family and each one and all of us together. So that my experience may be a little different than other people, because also one thing, they asked me to promise them that I'll tell them before I kill myself. And I promised them, so they don't have to live with, wondering every day, are they gonna get that call? So I went ahead and said, yes, I'll tell you before it's gonna happen, and that's exactly that. So that was the process in that visit, and since that visit, and before that, they know something's going on, otherwise they would not have picked up and all come over for that. So I'm curious what other, with family and kids and stuff.
We were just talking the other day that we got news of friends that live someplace else that have real serious health issues and are dying. We're 78, 79. So I said, we're kind of all reaching our expiration date. It's life.
In fact, recently Bert said to me, hell, I might die of something else.
Likely will. I mean,
He's
it's,
outlived his parents,
Yep.
outlived his sister, so, yeah, can happen.
and dementia is a terminal diagnosis, but so is life.
Right.
I mean, it's, it is, so it's all, yeah, I mean,
But understanding that, accepting it, living it, gives a big change in life. Instead of denying it, and now it's part of life. So
So we went to Italy for 2.5 weeks this spring.
there you go.
And had a great time.
good.
He did great.
Except for the COVID.
Well, 2 days of bad COVID, yeah. Other than that, he did great.
Well, our relationship, we moved here because we have a son and his family that live in this area, and we have children in Idaho. And it's wonderful to see them stepping up to help out, especially our son that lives here. Unfortunately, his wife's mother has Alzheimer's and her father has something going on, so she's really torn. She's struggling a lot with that care. But it's wonderful to have my son come over and fix the toilet, fix this.
So he's stepping up. And not everybody has that, either. Sometimes the kids kind of go into hiding because they don't know how to deal with it, which is unfortunate, but that happens too. Or sometimes you find the daughters to be more helpful than the sons, or vice versa. It just, dementia, if you've seen one person with dementia, you've seen one person with dementia.
Right.
Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's experience is going to be different. So, it's very individualized, just like everything else is. And I think sometimes society maybe kind of tries to throw things in a box. Well, this doesn't fit in the box, just like a lot of other things don't. So one of the first conversations that David and I had, he shared with me the gift that dementia gave him, which caught me off guard a little bit. And he shared with me that the gift was to live in the present because he has no other choice. And that just moved me. As somebody that meditates every day and journals every day, I try to get in the present so much, and I was like, wow, that was just really hit me, living in the presence.
That's what I was trying to say earlier, thank you. You've gotta be positive and take today and
Yep.
live today to the utmost. That's so hard, that sounds so yucky. I mean, people think, I can't believe you could do that. But if you do that, you have two choices, negative or positive. What are you gonna choose? Two choices.
You'll live longer. I experienced in my life cancer twice. And the second time, a year later, I got the second cancer. And the doctor said to me, I don't know if I can save you, Mary, but I can buy you time. And I walked out, don't mind my language, and I thought, oh shit, I'm in trouble. That's what my brain said. I gotta tell you, I had, the positive is what took it out. But not only that, had it have stayed, the positive of thinking, you'll live longer. You will live longer if you get that positive in there.
Well, and you'll live better.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
But even, you better because that's why you live longer. But talk about help from the kids, I complained. I'm short and I'm small, my brothers come, and I'm the one getting her into the lift and into the chair. And I come in and they're on their computers and she's where she was at the beginning. I said, this is ridiculous, you guys can help. For God's sakes, they started.
Yeah.
Well, then I came home one day, this is the funny part, and my brother's smiling and he's got my mother in the couch. Okay, and he's just as happy as can be. And I said, did you change her diaper? And he said no. He scooted her into the couch and she needed her diaper changed. But I thought he tried.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I had to take that. I wasn't mad. You gotta take everything and go positive. And if anyone that has Alzheimer's or Lewy body, if you can do that, you will live longer. And you're already on the road of, I'm living a better life because I have short life. Don't think about short life. That's how I did it with cancer. And I mean, I've had everything. I've had knees replaced. I have hips replaced, the breast replaced. I even asked my doctor, what more can you replace in this body? And he said, don't worry, Mary, I'll find something. And my great-grands call me, here comes the robot. So I'm not giving up on life. I want to live long because I'm enjoying I have 8 great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm enjoying them. And
Wow.
I'm just having a ball. So there's a reason I'm still here. And when I had cancer, it was, 10 years ago. And he'd extended my life quite well. So, you know.
But you've taken care of it since that gift's been given to you.
Yes, and you just have to, they all said they couldn't get over how I fought it, and I said I fought it being positive. You have to. You know, well, I was able to do that, I guess, but, because I was meant to be around for taking care of my mom and my husband. But don't think of the end. Think of life and you can even remember beginning if you want something to do. That's how I feel, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
So if I can ask a question for those who are living with dementia, what do you think's the most important things for others to understand?
What do you think?
What do you think?
Well, you know, with all the experiences in my life, those seem to help me through the tight periods. And so I try to look back and see how I handled things when I didn't have this problem. And I consider it a problem, okay? Because I've always been very self-sufficient and very motivated. Well, and she knows this, I'm not as motivated as I used to be. I'm more sedentary, and but I still do a lot of thinking, and I remember pretty much everything that went on in my life. Some of it was pretty significant, but the most significant thing is that my wife is supporting me, and I appreciate what she does because I know it's hard on her. possible, which doesn't always happen. And I know that. And I know when I'm not having a good day, and I know when I'm not having a bad day. And so I try to hang on to the good days as long as possible. And on the bad days, I go high.
But he always said, you know, I wanna take a shower every day, I wanna get dressed every day. My father didn't do that.
No.
And so to learn from things and to go with the positive, that keeps you so with it. I mean, that helps
Oh, that
so much.
routine,
That routine,
yes.
that routine, that routine. He doesn't have sundowner syndrome. He's that great person all the time. He never yells at me. He's accepted me taking over things now. And I told you that was a
Which was
challenge.
hard to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I'm finding out where all the files are, you know. We're getting the will taken care of. My granddaughter, who works here, Lauren, is an angel. She's got power of attorney for our family. We moved back here for Lauren from Ecuador during COVID. We were there
Actually, we
5
did it for
years.
ourselves.
Yeah, for ourselves too, because we were used to living at 8,600 feet in the Andes Mountains. We love that. And I'm a Texan, you can tell from my accent, right? And we adore Texas, but it's so hot and humid. It's hot here, but it's not humid.
Yeah.
And we have 2 children and a granddaughter here. And her heart is just so wonderful. She can be so giving and loving, and then with business, she changes. And during this period, we've seen her in that atmosphere where she is business. And then she's so loving. She went with us to all these assisted livings. We were looking at the PACE program. You guys know what that is?
No.
Pace, innovate.
PACE Innovate. Okay, the PACE program is where you pay in for 3 years to the program of where you're gonna go live. You pay their price. Then after 3 years, they take your money, but they only give you $300 a month each to spend. Did that compute? $300 each to spend on toilet paper, insurance payments, whatever. But you're there and they keep taking your money. That's wonderful for some people, but we couldn't do that. I still am paying $544 a month for $150,000 life insurance policy, because that's all we could get with his maladies
Yeah.
through USAA. So thank God, praise God for my granddaughter. We love her dearly. And my daughter is great. She lives down in Parker though. My son is great. We have a list of things. He's gonna have to come over, or my grandson is gonna come over, change light fixtures, because we don't get on ladders anymore.
Thank you for that.
That's right.
Yeah. I saw him, I was driving out, and I saw him go get the ladder out of the garage. I stopped and I said,
Yeah.
And I don't even wanna do it, because when the lights fixtures, you have to unscrew it on both sides. That's so tenuous.
Yeah.
And then lift it down, you know. So I just make little list and then say, can you please come over? And they're busy. Life is so busy for people now.
They're young.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we're about at our hour. Does anybody have anything else that they want to share or ask?
I would just like to say thank you for all sharing your stories. Currently, my husband and I think we're okay. We don't know otherwise. But,
That's okay.
my mother passed away and had dementia. And this would have been so helpful earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
That's good.
Wow.
That doesn't always go that way either, so very blessed for that.
And you can speak to that.
There's some differences.
Well, we're from all over the country, all over the political spectrum,
Oh, yeah.
religious differences, but everybody
Wow.
was on the same page.
Good, good, because it was all about dad, is that,
Oh, my
mom, yes, it was all about mom, right? And that's what it should be about.
It's beautiful. You know, horrible, but something beautiful came out of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to wish Bert a happy birthday. It's happy birthday. Happy birthday, Bert. And thank you all so much for being here. If any of you want, any follow-up or anything, if you want to leave your name and an email, I can send you something.
And she left, do we have her information?
Yeah, there's a sheet up there.
We've got a sheet with the different support groups that they have here.